The first news is on GST, which has mopped up almost 1.6 lakh crore on better compliance and consumption. And this is almost the fifth time in row such high levels of GST has taken place, and the council is recommending, or their experts are sort of expecting some rate restructuring happening in this area. These higher amounts of GST, which is almost around 11% year-on-year growth, have come because of better compliance, higher consumption, and action against evaders. And the improvement in the e-invoicing processes has also improved the collection. Now, over here, we could see the trends in GST collections and the collections across states. Uh, so one of the key thing is the detection of evaders early on and increased awareness among businesses, and that non-compliance draws unnecessary attention of the authority. So we expect that in the next few months, due to festival season coming in, there would be even higher GST collection. So it will be interesting to notice, and also this will lead to, because these are some sort of indirect taxes, so they are less invasive and they are easier to implement and they are high on impact. However, they are not very good for the lower, increased GST is not good for lower income households. So PMI also rises to 557.7 in July, which is a bit drop from the last month. However, we have seen a solid rise in employment, and the manufacturing sector almost gives around 18%. It has around 18% share in the GVA. Another interesting thing is passenger vehicle sales in July continue to grow for manufacturer like Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai, Tata Motors, Mahindra, Kia. However, we see a sales decline in Hero MotoCorp and Bajaj Auto, which sort of gives a hint that the lower income uh, people or households have still not recovered from COVID and are grappling with inflation. One thing is interesting to note is the premiumization trend in the auto and other sector as well. And one interesting company could be Landmark Cars. Next, very high amount of ITR was filled. It was around 6.77 crore, which is almost 16.1% more than the total ITR for uh, assessment year 22 or 23, which was around 5.83 crore. And on July itself, 64 lakh ITRs were filed, which is around, I think, 10% of the total amount of ITRs filed. Also, around 53.67 lakhs ITR were filed till July 31st, which were from first-time filers, so almost 10%, 9 to 10% new people got into the tax net. This is also pretty interesting statistics. Almost 49% are ITR 1, 12% ITR 2, 11% ITR 3, and 27% are ITR 4, and 0.94, almost 1% between 5 to 7. Almost 88% of our banknote, 2000 rupees notes are back into the banking system. So 12% are still in circulation. This article talks about the auto sales. Uh, Maruti Suzuki highest, and followed by Hyundai, followed by Tata Motors, and then Mahindra. In the two-wheeler segment, we see drop in Hero and Bajaj, whereas TVS, Royal Enfield, and Suzuki motorcycles, they have still done good. Ashok Leyland has had a better thing compared to Tata Motors or Volvo Eicher, and in tractor, both Escorts and M&M has done pretty good. And this also numbers are also reflective of the inclement of weather condition in July in certain parts of the country. Then, Sundaram Home Finance saw a 21% increase in net profit, and similarly, Aptus Value Housing also sees almost 29% year-on-year growth. So the affordable housing segment is getting a lot of traction. You also see that electric two-wheeler registrations bounce back, and then I think, yeah, Foxconn EV Venture targets India, Thailand for new small car. So this could be interesting. The next is strong export boost for Wheel India. So Q1 is almost 25% high because of the export demand. Um, and they believe that there is a strong prospect to grow the hydraulic cylinder business with the existing customers. They have recently done a merger between Sundaram Hydraulics and Wheels India. And post monsoon, the domestic wheels business should also pick up because of money coming into after agricultural activities. The next is RIL and Brookfield to probably make renewable equipment, energy equipment uh, in Australia, focused on PV modules, long duration battery storage, which could be LFP cells and components for wind energy, most likely motors, and I'm not sure exactly, but we'll get to see those things. Bosch also earmarks a large amount of capital, almost 960 crore for R&D and capital spends. And interesting to note is they will unveil the BS6 Stage 2 hydrogen engine truck by early 24. And they have also announced a hydrogen engine testing infrastructure in Bengaluru. Um, Also, another thing which is interesting for Bosch is with the ongoing infrastructure boom, there would be an increased demand of power tools. And one could see companies such as Kennametal, which are into this power tool metal sort of position. Yeah. Then another interesting thing is the fine dining segment, and Aditya Birla Group is also adding four restaurant band, and this segment is actually growing, so it'll be interesting to note. Next, this article talks about how Tata Motors is sort of changing its design language with Sierra, and they're talking about EVs and how what are the changes they need to do in the EV space. Um, Over here, they kind of talk about their expectation from the hydrogen fuel power cell. So they see it as a competing opportunity, but they don't have any money on the table. Another thing is with Born EV powertrain, the wheels need to kind of go further. And so basically, I expect that, and the main reason is internal space. So I expect that there would be larger load on the bearings. So this could be one beneficiary of such spacious interiors because they need to hold that weight. Government debt stands at almost 155 lakh crore, which is around 57.1% of the GDP. It's actually falling, so it's quite manageable for the government. And so at 557.7, manufacturing PMI remains again steady. So uh, it's it's remained steady, and also the employment is increasing, and cost inflationary pressures remains related muted. The index signaled further substantial improvement in the health of the sector. Business conditions have now strengthened in each month of the past 25 months. The next is around the provision existing to act against the offshore gaming platform evading GST. Now, offshore gaming platforms could be used to prevent the 28% GST, uh, and the GST Council and the Finance Ministry said that they have RBI provisions to block it. Because whenever you send money out, you have to tell RBI what purpose is it. And worst case scenario, I mean, these websites could be banned, blacklisted, or blocked. Next interesting article is that Coal India production has increased almost a 13.4% at 53.6 million tons from 47.3 million tons a year ago. And another area is they have been consistently supplying to non-power sector, which has noted a 59% growth compared to power sector. And some of the numbers are over here. The next is first mile connectivity projects with almost 40 of 414 million tons per annum. Uh, this would be basically once you dig the coal, you don't put it in a truck and send it across, but you crush it and then make it into refined smaller coal pellets based on your use case, and then load it. So the packaging efficiency is better and all of that. Uh, this also aids in cutting down on pollution during transportation coal via the road. And some of the interesting projects that could be looked is Fluidomat, International Conveyor, or it could be some bearing manufacturer, roller manufacturing, and silo manufacturer. There's some a financial report from GMDC. Looks like they haven't done that good on a quarter to quarter on quarter basis, on a consolidated view as well. They have actually degrown. Next is nothing fancy, but report on citizens' data security. Again, this leads to another interesting aspect of e-sign and cryptography, and these businesses should do good. The next article is on ICICI Prudential Lives. Uh, they want to focus on the customer, and there are, in India, it's inconceivable that only 2% of customers require life protection and longevity planning, and it's a latent and not explicit need, but this will change and there would be a structural change in the industry and they are expecting them to do better. They use data and analytics for onboarding and underwriting. Then understanding needs of the customer is their second aspect. Third is they give a full digitalization to the customer lifecycle management, from onboarding to processing of claims, etc. And fourth, because they are very more like an intermediate business, so they're agents and partners who interface with the customers. They also use digitization, and they are also driving that part so that their partners can sell correctly. Based on, recently there has been some tax changes, tax provisioning. Due to that, they have come up with new products like constant maturing ULIPs. Um, Also, originally these sections were driven by this life insurance was driven by ETC. Now they are looking at alternate arrangements. So they see a bit of drop, or they see a bit of loss in business, but they will probably they're trying to do better and be more sustainable. So it could be an interesting business to look at, ICICI Lombard and ICICI Prudential Life. Shriram, again, 30% annual growth. So the motor sector is basically for Shriram is doing pretty good and they have expertise over there. Company is also hiring 500% for marketing purposes, and they're also they have earned a premium of almost 2,267 crore, and they expect to grow at 30% in the current year and the next. So pretty good. 30% growth is pretty impressive. Um, they want to diversify into health, cybersecurity, and travel, and not into crop insurance because they have burned their fingers apparently. And basically, Shriram Finance is into the purchase of used truck, high risk, high reward business. So they are experts at it and they have built it up for the last 25 years. IDBI Bank moves to NCLAT against Z Entertainment. Nothing fancy. What we'll also see is both Cholamandalam on the finance sector is doing pretty nice. So, Cholamandalam Finance, it's a Murugappa Group business. They have posted a 28% rise in PAT, profit after tax, to 726 crore. And their gross NPA also reduced to 4.30% as compared to 4.63%. And in net NPA also dropped to 2.82%. Their asset under management grew by a whopping 42% to 1,22,755 crore. Vehicle finance has been 32%, that grew by 32%. Loan against property, I don't know, increase of 32% again. Home loan more than doubled, so it from 611 to 1454. And the company has strong liquidity. So interesting company, Cholamandalam Finance. Then Dhanlakshmi Bank again, profitable. So the entire banking sector and the NBFCs are doing pretty good. That's the main bottom line. Next is Branks wrote off around 10.5 lakh crore. Again, um, the top 10 willful defaulters owe around 43,000 crore. So from in the last 4 years, bank wrote off around 10.5 lakh crore. That's huge. Um, yeah, I think interesting to note. There's some section on willful defaulters, how they are and what are the provisions against them. So there's another financial result from Triveni Turbine, who owns around 60% of the market share in the domestic steam turbine industry. Similar Cholamandalam Finance investment. Another financial report, financial result from Wheels India Limited. There's an interesting article on Gift City and how currently Indian companies can use American depository receipts or global depository receipts to make their shares accessible to overseas investors. So that would probably change, and the finance minister's statement sort of facilitates allowing startup companies to command healthy valuation from overseas investors, so that it becomes more seamless. So that would be pretty good. The only challenge is that it might compete with NSE BSE, but there would be some approach taken. And effectively, this Grift City should be similar to the Hong Kong Shanghai Stock Connect, something like that. This article sort of talks about how US population, which has 27% migrants, which has risen from 20% from 2010 to 2023. What are the challenges that they are facing in terms of public services like water or replacement of manpower by chatbots, or unemployment, racial tension, pandemic, which leads to sort of mass shooting and general risk of guns and all. So it gives pretty interesting numbers on how many people are uh, sort of migrants. So 1 in 7 are migrants, 1 in 6 workers are migrants, 1 in 4 are migrants in new businesses, and almost 69% are immigrants in the essential jobs compared to native born worker. So it talks about how India is moving forward, whereas US is going back by not giving proper water, sanitation, or safety to the citizens. Next is a forest amendment law raises some concern, but we can skip this one. The next article is breaking up with China is not easy because, ultimately China has a lot of manufacturing, and breaking up with China means you have to have that manufacturing in-house, which is not always feasible. The next one talks about US manufacturing activity slips, uh, and mainly due to high interest rate with ongoing rotation towards customer preference towards services. So the only places where manufacturing did good was petroleum and furniture, apparel, plastics, and paper. Help. They were responsible for degrowth, and there were other industries as well. Next is how startups are talking about profitability. So because free money is not there, so startup funding has also fallen. So if you look at Q2 FY22, it was around, I don't know, 17 billion, and now Q4 of FY23, it was around 2.5 billion. So almost a 70% drop. Yeah, so that was not good. And multiple startups, number of profitable startups, uh, don't exactly know how this figure is sort of managed, but EBITDA 1.3, and they expect this EBITDA to go to 4.5 to 4.7 billion, and the number of profitable startups to be jumped from 30 to 55. This drug price control order under Pharmaceutical Policy 2022. So, because the government has not included some of the life-saving drugs, Supreme Court has not allowed this drug price control order to be in place. Then South Indian Bank raising capital 100 crore and 500 crore debt. Also, DLF's KP Singh sells a large amount of his equity. Power grid tumbles because of weak numbers. And there's a lot of talk about privacy, and you will see that generally people are looking at India. So, um, yeah, investment in India is interesting. Then TTK Healthcare, make my trip. So, for example, right now, because of high interest towards leisure traveling, make my trip for the third quarter straight has made good profits, uh, backed up by air ticketing because people are booking more air tickets, high gross volume booking. However, the expense is also on a rise, but they are becoming more profitable. Bosch's financial statement, poor sales growth and poor ROE. That's the main problem with Bosch's financial statement, and also very expensive. Gold demand is kind of down 7%. Um, Vietnam will increase their rice supply from 4 to 4.43.2 million tons from 42.7. So not too much, but yeah. And then Kufos ties up with US biotech giant for fish meal. Yeah. So there is a rare deep depression over Bay may revive monsoon over deficient East India. So East India might get good amount of rainfall in the coming days. Then it talks about coffee, how coffee is kind of growing. The next one is about insurance scheme buy center on farmers, and there are a lot of tickers of this insurance scheme, which is very nice. Actually, 61% increase of it. Then government fixing allocates almost 23.5 lakh tons of sugar for August. So government actually controls the flow of sugar so that the price does not fluctuate too much. And they expect from the in the festival season enough ample sugar would be present. Then okay, then there's political stuff. Um, One interesting thing is EU deforestation regulation could hit India exports. So what EU wants is um, whatever the import, that should come out of deforestation-free areas. Now it's very hard for India to, I mean, it's also expensive for exporters to sort of verify that it's coming from non-deforested land. And another thing is in India, what is happening is, say for example, there's a deforested land and that has been planted. I mean, there's been plantation. So while the government claims that the area under forest cover has increased, but those are mostly plantation, and that's why it's a bit complicated. So probably it will be discussed at the ministry level. Some items on concessional custom rates improvement. I mean, it was originally given concession to some of the items mentioned over here. Now, because India was not making it, so for example, electrical insulator pipes, tubes, manufacture of broiler, platinum or palladium for noble metal and compound and solution. Now, they have initiated a review whether they should, I mean, give this exemption. Then again, Tesla was asked to follow Apple in pairing Chinese and Indian subsidiaries. What should be interesting is to look out for auto ancillaries. Tesla should find, if there are critical Chinese suppliers, they should find Indian companies who can sponsor, I mean, who can tie up with these companies. And again, Vodafone Idea's subscriber base is falling, whereas Reliance Jio's are growing. Um, sharing of data stuff. I don't know, business related stuff. So that's all from today.